Growing up, I never really had to think that much about climate, right? I lived in a very politically liberal area, but still, we didn't do that much in terms of climate advocacy. Certainly, it was a problem that everybody knew about, but I mean, I can only remember recycling uh, as something that we did to combat climate change. I think what really made me care about it is my connection to the outdoors. I do a lot of outdoor sports. I was in the scouting program. And because the outdoors is such a big part of my life, it means I can see the effects of climate change and I get to experience them a lot more. So I'm a lot more in tune with it and I see it and I experience it, unlike a lot of people. Uh, and that what really made me want to take this course and become a climate leader.
I worked with people with disabilities for my whole career after leaving college. And even during that time, I would be aware of things that were going on. I read this article about a trash incinerator in Western Mass,
Mm-hmm.
in Springfield, and it was spewing dioxin into the air, which is the major component of Agent Orange and major defoliant, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
majorly toxic. And I read an article about it and just was amazed that it was such a terrible problem, and started to get involved with Mass Perg, the Public Interest Research Group, and they kind of brought me along. And even though I was still teaching, I I would work on that, and I felt like up to that point, like I was working on my house and doing things to live,
Yeah.
and it felt like I was kind of attached to my house too much, and I wasn't doing anything else. I was like just trying to live so much. And so I ended up getting involved in that and working with on trash issues. And back then, this was like 1988,
Mm-hmm.
people weren't really talking about climate yet.
Yeah.
That was when Dr. James Hansen first spoke to Congress. And
Mm-hmm.
I did know about it because I had cut out an article in the paper about the 10 ways to stop global warming
Oh, okay.
back
Yeah.
in 1988. And because that's what you did back then, was read the
Yeah.
paper. There was no internet. So I still worked full time. And um, when we moved out here um, in 2000, I was working at the high school, Bozeman
Mm-hmm.
High, and my job was so busy, I couldn't really work on the climate issues or that I wanted to. And I decided um, I just didn't have time. Skip another um, 13 years or 12 years, I think, or actually it was 20 2009 when I heard about uh, on the radio uh, the issue of ocean acidification,
Mm-hmm.
and that was coming from coal-fired plants, um,
Yeah.
and a lot of it. But at the time, they didn't really know. That was just when it was really first becoming, people were becoming aware of it. So I thought, oh, yeah, when I turn on the light, I'm using coal
Yeah.
because that's where we were getting most of our electricity from.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately I applied for a loan and we got a solar panel.
Oh.
We have a loan from the state, and we got a big solar panel out in the backyard. And I thought, okay, whew, I feel a lot better. I'm not using coal as much. And then around 2010, I took a trip with family to Kilimanjaro. We climbed Kilimanjaro
Oh, wow.
and got to go to Tanzania and meet some wonderful people, our
Mm-hmm.
guides, and we went on a safari and saw people living there that, and I knew about climate change by that time. I mean, I
Yeah.
was reading
Mm-hmm.
about it, feeling guilty, reading about things, um, and realizing that they were really going to be affected. Back then, the U.S. was at least a quarter of all emissions in in the world,
Hmm.
and and the wildebeests, they were like, we were watching them, and they follow the rains, and there weren't any rains, and I just, you feel bad about it, and
Yeah.
so I came back from that, and I decided I was going to leave my job after, working for 32 years. I figured I was getting older, and if I didn't start working on it, this is, yeah, just about 10 years ago. If I didn't start working on it, I would retire and then start working on it. That so much was going to happen in that decade. I did not want to not work on it. So I left my job, came back that Christmas.
Mhm.
It was a Christmas vacation kind of thing, and told them I was leaving
Wow.
at the end of the year, and started to try to start a group
Hmm.
in. This was 2011, and we started the Bozeman Climate Alliance, which
Yeah.
it was hard to like figure out what to do. Like, we're gonna have speakers, we're trying to educate people, but it was a lot of work
Hmm.
to try to start a new group.
Yeah.
So but we worked on that for about a year, and I also worked on coal export action. That was in
Hmm.
2012, because all the coal trains coming through and going to the West Coast for export.
Yeah.
Um, and there was a really good statewide action that year. And we went to Helena and got arrested and went to jail for a night and learned a lot from that,
Yeah.
of just what that's like. And we couldn't get a court action going, really. It took a year, and we were all kind of under probation until we went through
Yeah.
court, and it would take a lot of money, and nobody really had the stamina to we didn't realize when we were going into it that we were going to have to raise money, and
Yeah.
so we kind of dropped that. And the next year, because of all my efforts, Citizens Climate Lobby said, hey,
Hmm.
can you help us start a group in Bozeman? Because we had Max Baucus, who was the head of the finance committee, and Citizens Climate Lobby is a international volunteer driven nonprofit that works with democracy. It works
Hmm.
through federal legislation, because if you have federal legislation, it's harder to undo any
Yeah.
kind of climate policy, as
Hmm.
we now know with our current president, of how easy it is to undo regulation.
Yeah.
And the Clean Power Plan was the only regulation that dealt with greenhouse gases, because we couldn't get any legislation
Hmm.
passed. So they wanted to get into Montana, and I was thrilled. I was like, wow, this is so structured, and it has, they help you, they teach you how to um, form a group. They give you a guest speaker online every month, and actions to do, and they have a solution that is so effective,
Hmm.
which is basically carbon pricing. You make fossil fuels accountable, everybody who uses
Yeah.
them accountable for the pollution they cause.
Hmm.
So I just fell in love with it and have been working with them ever since. Do it.
Yeah.
We need you.